So I'll be talking on tips and reaction versus infection and immediate management, and part of it is actually going to overlap with what Saurabh is going to say. So Saurabh, I'll try to skip that as much as possible. And whenever we have endophthalmitis, and recently because of the problem which we faced with Avastin, it's actually it's dreadful because these days the media in India is so active that you have this news coming on newspapers very soon. So it's a dreadful reaction. You operate on day one, and the picture comes up like this with the hypopyon. It's definitely very, very devastating. But you must keep your peace of mind to decide whether it's actually a reaction versus an exaggerated reaction. This is what happened when DCGI banned Avastin, because there's so much of media coverage, endophthalmitis which occurred in the form of clusters, and we've all recently experienced. But it also happened in the US because they had New York Times reporting on Avastin endophthalmitis, but the media was a little bit more responsible there. Avastin did not get banned. So we have to keep all these things in mind whenever all these reactions occurs, cluster infections particularly, and we must keep in mind. This happened about a few years back in Raipur, and this was the headline: "Murder at health camp says patients blinded." Such words are used, and it's actually devastating. You feel so bad about what is going on. Chhattisgarh government suspends doctors after the endophthalmitis. These are known complications. Nobody does it intentionally. Yes, we should follow strict procedures. Therefore, it's extremely important that you must document whatever is being done, because if you do not document, you will get into problems with all these investigations going on. An ideal post-op reaction is like this. You have a 6/6 vision, a good post-operative reaction, well-centered lens, no reaction. This is what all of us want. Now, this is a feared complication. So though the incidence is low, even a single case becomes stressful. Patient is sitting in the OPD, talking to other patients. Other patients say, "Oh, so you got an infection. I really need to think whether I have to get operated." So these patients, we try to mobilize them fast, treat them fast, get them out of the OPD and do all these things. Anyway, it's important that all of you who have access, I see here people coming from overseas, but All India Ophthalmic Society, if you go to the website, you have this commonly available intravitreal drugs, which you should put it on your operation theatre. You have various manuals which are available all online, which you can go through how to prepare intravitreal antibiotics, and it will be very important. So the key issues is delay in diagnosis. The delay could be because you do not wish to you have to differentiate between whether it's TAS or it's endophthalmitis, and delay in instituting appropriate measures like giving intravitreal injections, topical antibiotics will anyway given. So it's important to diagnose this. TAS is a non-infectious endophthalmitis. Endophthalmitis is infectious. The pathogenesis is different, the treatment is vastly different, and the prognosis is again is quite different. So this patient was treated as inflammation. Actually, it turned out to be infection. So whenever you have any suspicion of a patient, whether it's inflammation versus infection, it's better to err on the side of infection rather than inflammation. This patient got treated as infection, actually turned out to be inflammation. So you need to have very defined criteria as to what is TAS and what is endophthalmitis. And this TAS term was coined way back in 1992 by Monson, and it was also initially referred to as the sterile postoperative endophthalmitis. Exact incidence is difficult to determine, but mild cases can be missed. Signs and symptoms may improve after routine treatment. It's important to find an etiological factor. Often the cause is not pinpointed. It could be because of bacterial endotoxins, because you may not have an actual organism, but you have bacterial endotoxin, maybe because of the residual viscoelastics, and there can be other things like various detergents, enzymes, and contaminants from the tubings, because the tubings are sometimes often or actually reused many times. IOL and phaco hand pieces, because they are sterilized with ETO, can have gas residues and talc from the glove, cotton fiber, etc. So there can be a lot of other things, and there can be problems in the irrigating solution, preservatives, intracameral anesthetics being used, intracameral antibiotics being used, and even the residues from the ETO. Now, most develop symptoms within 12 to 24 hours. The visual acuity comes down, And what is important is the reaction in TAS is limbus to limbus. There's a moderate to severe AC reaction with cells flee as hypopyon and fibrin. Pupil can be dilated, it's non-reactive, intraocular pressure is normal or raised. And so here is a patient who had a reaction like this, fundus picture like this. This is day 2, was treated just with intensive steroids, and day 14 the visual acuity improved, the picture improved. So you have to differentiate between what is TAS. This is another patient who was treated with intensive steroids over a period of time, did extremely well. So in a post-operative endophthalmitis, the most common cause is a gram-positive coagulase negative. In the EVA study, they found no growth in 18%, equivocal growth in 13%, and positive growth in 69%. In our country, we have also a lot of gram-negative and fungal infections coming up. Now, so this table, you just you have to understand. It's important for me to spend a little time on this. So you have TAS on one side, infectious endophthalmitis on another side. The important things are lid swelling and chemosis. This is usually absent in TAS. So if you have a patient coming up with lid swelling and chemosis, usually it points in the direction of endophthalmitis. Pain, it could be there for both, but it is a little bit more severe with endophthalmitis. Now, corneal edema is limbus to limbus in TAS, but can be localized near the wound in cases of infectious endophthalmitis. Pupil, the AC reaction over a long period of time, the AC reaction is there, not differentiating. The intraocular pressure in endophthalmitis, this is not actually always true, but it is, it's generally not increased. Initially, the pressure may be high in TAS, so this is a differentiating factor. And if you do a B scan, though B scan is not a must for diagnosing endophthalmitis, but it really helps. On B scan, you will find vitreous opacities, but in the TAS, it will be anechoic, and of course, culture will be negative. On infectious endophthalmitis, you may be able to pick up an organism. Now, just let me spend a little bit more time on it. If you have on the first post-op day, there is increased pain reaction. You should know how much reaction you get normally when you're going to be operating. If you get a particular amount of reaction, that is the gold standard. Gold standard is not when somebody XYZ is operating and they get no reaction at all, and they get certainly a little bit reaction, then yes, that's an exaggerated reaction for them. But if you normally operate and there's a little bit reaction, then that is okay, and if it is more than that, then it's certainly abnormal. If there's a decrease in vision, pain, then yes, you must look at the options of endophthalmitis. If you have a hypopyon, then you look at the dilatability of the pupil, you see what is the wound margin, check at the vitreous, and then you can do an ultrasonography, do an indirect ophthalmoscopy, and if all these things indicate that you have exudation in the vitreous, you have exudates which are being demonstrated on the ultrasonography, then yes, it's infectious endophthalmitis. So if you have a vitreous exudation, it could either be yes, it's an endophthalmitis, or if you have exaggerated AC reaction, you take vision. If the vision is less than 6/60 or more than 6/60, you could just give medical treatment, intravitreal injection. But in case the vision is PLPR, then you follow the guidelines of straight away going ahead with the vitrectomy. Ideally, we would prefer to give intravitreal antibiotic injections. Usually, but the single injection is effective, as Saurabh would say it. Sometimes we have to repeat it the second time. And if that doesn't work, then definitely we go ahead with vitrectomy. This was another patient who was a case of endophthalmitis, responded to Vancomycin, did well, was diagnosed on time and treated well. These are the observations of what an endophthalmitis looks like, and there are still gray zones of what we should do. When still in doubt, you should start intensive treatment with steroids, antibiotics, cycloplegics, close follow-up. Sometimes you can follow up on a daily basis, morning, evening, because you need to be very aggressive. And you must tell the patient, look, we are suspecting infection. You have to be honest with your patient, communicate with your patients, document everything. Because if you do not, the problem comes up when we do not communicate with the patient, when we are not honest with them. So if it is pure inflammation, within 24 to 48 hours, it will show signs of reduction. If it is infectious, it may improve. If it is responding to antibiotics, or you may have to switch over to vitrectomy. Now, always err on the side of infection if you are in doubt. And This was a patient who had earlier had a VR surgery and underwent a cataract surgery by the cataract surgeon, and a simple looking surgery of a cataract. So we had done a wonderful VR job. The retina was settled, retina was doing well, but after the cataract surgery, patient developed this reaction. So obviously the VR surgeon was very, very disturbed. These are 3 patients which occurred at one go. Everybody was extremely. This is a slide which I've taken from Dr. Lalit, and they said what to do, but actually eventually turned out to be a exaggerated inflammation, and patient responded pretty well with normal treatment. So be patient. You must talk to the patient. Decide if it's inflammation or infection. I think Saurabh will cover this. You must look at, try to cover both gram positive, gram negative. Standard thing is Vancomycin. You could also give Vanco and amikacin. These are the indications for vitrectomy. These are the cases where you may have to do a vitrectomy. Usually we do just a core vitrectomy, give intraocular antibiotics. Is very rare, particularly in recurrent cases where we may decide to do a radical vitrectomy with silicone injection. That is not the norm. I repeat, say that you must have this printed in your OT so that you can prepare the antibiotics well. These are the various adjunctive things used. You can use systemic steroids, injections into the eye. You can use intravenous antibiotics. You can use systemic antibiotics of what we normally use is ciprofloxacin 750 milligram twice daily. And then if you suspect antifungal, you can give voriconazole and also amphotericin B. These are the various other antibiotics which are in vogue and which are being tried. So I should complete it now. So this is case of endophthalmitis after Avastin, endophthalmitis after Ozurdex. So any intraocular procedure, we must be very, very cautious. If you suspect infection, you must talk to the patient, suspect the diagnosis well, document your findings, document it again and again. You should take consultation from different people if you want help, and you must be honest with your patients. Thank you for your kind attention.